This is McKay's in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I was just in there. I found a handful of things. So, let's take a look at what I got. Greetings, y'all. Welcome to another episode. Still on the road. This time, Chattanooga, Tennessee. I stopped there on my drive to Lafayette here. I'd been in the McKay's in Knoxville and Nashville, but never been in the one in Chattanooga. And they're all very similar. They're the giant warehouse full of used books, music, games, movies. It's a pretty cool place. If you're in the Tennessee area and in these places, you should stop and check it out. I don't know if you're hearing the train in the distance, but So I popped in there, and on this trip I'm trying not to spend a lot of money on music and stuff, but so far I have failed, and I'm sure I will continue to fail as the weeks go on. So I grabbed a couple of things. I found more here than I did in the Knoxville McKay's that I stopped in the day before. So here we go. From 1984 we have In Excess and The Swing. This had a pretty popular song for them called Original Sin, which Nile Rodgers produced, and apparently Daryl Hall did some backing vocals on. That, I think, was a pretty moderate success for them. I guess the year after this, I think 85, is when their album With What You Need came out, and that really kind of took them to the next level. What they'd been kind of trying to do, really break it big in America, and that song kind of did it. But I have picked up a couple of In Excess albums lately. One later one that I wasn't really crazy about, and then I grabbed this one. I played it and I wasn't crazy about it. Nothing really, other than Original Sin, nothing else really stood out. I think I gotta give this one another one or two more spins to see what my final verdict is, but it was a little disappointing. A record like this, you're thinking you're going to go back to their earlier catalog and find some real hidden gems, but so far that just hasn't happened. But maybe on a future listen that will change. 1979 we get Roxy Music and Manifesto. I got into Roxy Music a handful of years ago, 10, 15 years ago. I was pretty familiar with Brian Ferry's solo stuff, especially from the 80s, late 80s. And I knew a handful of Roxy Music songs, but I didn't have any of their albums till a handful of years ago. So I've just been slowly picking them up as I find them out there in the wild. This is maybe one of the last ones that I need to pick up. And it was really cheap there. Sometimes at McKay's you can find the stuff really cheap. This was either $1.95 or $2.95. Like, those are like Goodwill prices, So I popped this in and took a listen to it, and I really liked it. I thought there were a ton of songs on here that I really enjoyed. A lot of them that caught my ear, where I had to go over and be like, what's the name of this song? Trash, which I think was a popular single. Angel Eyes, Still Falls the Rain I really liked. Ain't That So? And Cry 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 was really good, but a really good purchase on this one. Like I said, I think I got it pretty cheap, so this one really paid off. Great band. I wish I had a chance to see them live. 1985 we get Husker Du, Flip Your Wig. So I've been picking up a couple of Husker Du CDs there goes my receipt. As the years go by, if I find them, a lot of times they're a little more expensive. I think they may have reissued their collection. I'm not sure. This is the original SST version. I guess this was their last record for SST, and then they went to Warner Brothers, signed with the major label. And that was like a big deal back then, I think. I don't remember so much when Husker Du went to Warner Brothers, like what kind of uproar was caused by it. But I remember when REM went to Warner Brothers, and people just, were so disappointed and kind of wrote it off as like, well, that's the end of REM. Husker Du, I remember
a lot of times they would run ads for their albums in the skateboarding magazines, kind of appeal to that market. And I wasn't that familiar with any of their music so much until a handful of years ago. I watched one of those like MTV like marathon music video things that they did like on a holiday weekend, like Memorial Day weekend or something like that, where they just played like videos from A to Z. And I remember seeing the video for Makes No Sense at All from this album, and I really loved that song, and I don't think I'd ever heard it before. I think that was the very first video that they ever did, actually. I don't know how many videos they ever made, but I think that was the first one. But that song is so catchy, and it just like was like, oh man, like I've been kind of sleeping on this band all these years. I gotta go check some more out by them. But this one I found at McKay's. It was $8.95, which I thought was a little high, and I was gonna pass on it. But even though I really wanted it, but I thought that I probably could get it for cheaper. And then while I was in the store, I looked up on eBay to see what people were selling this for, and a lot of the used copies on eBay were going for a lot of money, like, you know, close to $20 or something. So I was like, you know, maybe this is a deal, you know. So I ended up picking it up. I was like, whatever, you know, I'll pay the $8.95 or whatever. But it's a good album. It's really good. So it paid off in the end. Some of the tunes on here I really dig. The title track is really good. Like I said, Makes No Sense at All. Paper Doll is really good. Green Eyes is another one I really liked. I think the last couple of tracks are pretty much like instrumentals. And the funny thing is, I think when they released the single of Makes No Sense at All, they had the B-side was like the theme to the Mary Tyler Moore Show, which I guess was set in Minneapolis, where they're from. Maybe that's the connection, but I don't think I've ever heard that. I'll have to look it up on YouTube. But great record. 1991, we get the Feelies and Time for a Witness. This is a promo copy, which sometimes I try to avoid, but I think this was like $1.95, and I was just like, who cares, you know? I think I've kind of grown out of my concern where like they would have like the stamp like embedded on the booklet that said promotional use or on the CD or whatever. I think that kind of used to bother me, but now I don't really care anymore. I have two other records by the Feelies. Really good band. I think they're from New Jersey too, where I'm from, but cool band. I don't know really how to describe them. I mean, obviously they fall into that category of like alternative rock and college rock, whatever. And they have some songs of theirs. The ones I really like are these ones that kind of like slowly build to this, like, it's like they take their time to let the song just kind of, you know, be born or whatever you want to call it. It's pretty wild. There's some stuff there's a tune on here, Find a Way. It sounds a lot like the Doors, like, you know, with their like the organ and everything kind of playing. It just kind of makes me think of that. There's a couple of really good tunes on here that I like. Sooner or Later, For Now is really good. Invitation, I really liked. But good band. I mean, again, it's a band that I really wasn't aware of back in the late 80s and early 90s and stuff. But I've come to really enjoy them. And I think they're pretty much still active, at least playing shows and stuff. I don't know if they're still putting out some new music. 2002, we get Mates of State and Our Constant Concern. This is a band, I have one other album by them, and I bought that album based off of one track, and I really liked it, and the album's really good. And so when I saw this in McKay's, and it was relatively cheap, probably, again, maybe $2.95 or something like that, I just kind of was like, you know, I like that one record by them, like, I'll take a gamble and see what this is like. And it's really good. It sounds a lot like that other album, that same kind of, they have like a synthesizer organ, but almost has that kind of like church organ kind of sound to it, or whatever, I guess is the perfect way to describe it. But it's to me, it's kind of like this band definitely has this unique sound sort of unto themselves. I don't know that I've heard other bands with a similar sound or using those instruments that way in these kinds of songs. I mean, they're alternative kind of tunes and everything, but they definitely have this unique sound that if you put this on, it's like, oh, that's them. You can tell. But this one ended up being pretty good. I kind of enjoyed it. Quit Doing It I really liked. Haves and Have-Nots I really liked, but I'm looking forward to listening to this a few more times, seeing what other tracks kind of start growing on me, but definitely worth it. It was cool pick up. I'd be maybe curious to see what another album, I think they have 6 or 7 records. I'd be kind of curious to see if that sound changed it or kind of developed at all over the years, or if they kind of stuck with this, because I think this is maybe their second record, so it kind of makes sense that they still sort of have that sound, and maybe wouldn't be till a few albums later where maybe if they're going to start changing things up, that's when it would happen. So it'd be kind of curious to see or to hear something more recent from them, just to kind of compare it, see if the sounds change at all. But good pickup, Mates Estate. So that is it from Chattanooga. Not a bad little score, a couple of CDs. McKay's got a lot of vinyl too, but a lot of it's really beat up. And I saw a couple of things there that were a little beat up, but the prices were, if they were like $2 or something, I'd maybe grab them, but the prices were like a little high. Maybe they're kind of hip to how vinyl is really taken off so much over the last few years, and the prices are starting to go up for things like that there. But so when I go to McKay's, it seems like I'm pretty much just looking at the used CD stuff, because those are still really cheap. And the big news, Amoeba Music, April 1st in Hollywood, they reopened finally. They've been closed this whole time because of the pandemic. They've opened in their new space on Hollywood Boulevard. I can't wait to go out there to check it out. The store looks really great. Hope it's super successful so they'll stick around for years and years to come. That's it for this show. We'll see you again the next time on another on the road episode, perhaps, unless I find nothing at any of the other places I go. By all means, like, subscribe, all that. Let me know what you think of these records. Recommend any tracks that you might like that are from these. I'd be curious to hear, especially the NXS one. That one really kind of disappointed me. I really thought there'd be a handful of really good songs on there, especially because it's one of those earlier albums. You could kind of get it if it's a later album. You're like, they've kind of lost it or whatever. But those early ones, you figure you're always going to find some like gems that you'd never heard of before. But I don't know, whatever. We'll see. But we'll see you next time.